we're all incredibly hard on ourselves and we're all striving to do better and to do more and to actualize, something that we've set out for ourselves. And while I appreciate so much of the coaching in the real estate space, I think that we forget this whole human side of the person. And I think I want nothing more than for people to feel like seen and heard and to just celebrate them.
Today's episode is brought to you by Andy Bovender, the founder of the Bovender team out of the Carolinas. Him and his team have helped more than 5,000 families. So if you have a client who's been thinking about making a move to or from that area, they are the referral partner to call. Today, backed by popular demand, Kelly Parker. She joins me today and we chat about her coaching business and how she really focuses on the individual, their beliefs, and how to get them to break through to the next level. With that, I'm your referral partner out of San Francisco, Shawn Kunkler. And we're live.
Hello.
Hi, welcome back.
I'm so happy to be back.
This is so cool. Your episode I know when episodes are really well received because I have so many people pinging me, and your episode was one of those episodes. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, you make great conversation and I got to see you at the retreat and spend more time talking to you, and I just feel like every conversation is a great conversation. So thanks for having me back and being a part of
Yeah,
this.
likewise. I mean, I feel like, yeah, again, like every time we chat, I'm like, oh, that's so interesting. I would love for other people to hear this. And so I'm like, why not just have you back and record it? But it was interesting in talking about your real estate business on the last episode, and of course, seeing you speak on stage at the retreat, but also learning that you have this whole other thing that's coming to fruition, which is your coaching.
Yeah,
I would love to just kind of hang out with you for the next hour and talk about that because I think it's really
yeah,
interesting and cool, and your approach is it's vastly different. It's not the traditional, hey, you need to make more calls. Why aren't you making more calls? It's a completely different way that you approach it and think about it and humanize it. And I just genuinely want to say before you start sharing about that is I feel like you also bring just this really kind, I think is probably the best word,
hmm,
like a kind and nurturing approach to it, which is it's just so often needed, especially from a coach.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's like the nicest compliment, honestly, I think somebody could give me. I think that we're all incredibly hard on ourselves and we're all striving to do better and to do more and to actualize, something that we've set out for ourselves. And while I appreciate so much of the coaching in the real estate space, I think that we forget this whole human side of the person. And I think I want nothing more than for people to feel like seen and heard and to just celebrate them. I think
Hmm.
that is because I know that yeah, I have a lot to say on this. I just feel like I know that what that does for others, but I just genuinely know how hard this industry is, how hard on ourselves that we are, and no one really needs more of that. We need, I think, a lot more grace and compassion. And if I can, leave people with feeling that when, I'm done with any interaction, that's my greatest goal.
That is it's such a nice way to say it, and it's such a nice way to think about it. It's making me think of we had that our inner circle meeting yesterday, and the thing that I really took away from it from the client's perspective is just really showing up for them and in a supportive way. And it's not
Yeah.
like the the strategy of closing or getting the highest price or negotiating, but just checking in with them and seeing how they are actually doing. Like, how are you doing today? I know this is tough.
Yeah.
I know this moving sucks, and I know there's a lot of challenges, and so yeah, I think giving yourself grace and giving the people around you grace, it 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 shows up in really nice ways, and so yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, we recently had somebody reach out to Home Collective, my team, and when I asked her, she found us online. And I said, hey, like, what drew you to our team? And she said, she goes, there's a real like humanity to you. Like you have all the cool stats and the things that show me you're an expert, but I could just tell that like you really care about the like whole human and this like human experience. And that is, I think we forget that sometimes as realtors. I think we all try really, really hard, but what makes the biggest difference is really just seeing and supporting people with exactly where they are at, and and helping bridge that gap with them in a really like loving and compassionate way. And I think it goes really, really far in all businesses.
I really, not to blow your cover, but you and I were having a conversation at one point, and I remember you just saying, all these stats are bullshit. I don't care about those. I care about my clients.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that is, I feel like a lot of us think it, but no one says it. And you actually just said it. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh,
I
that's
like
refreshing. Thank you for saying that.
it's like I'm like, yeah, I can lead with them, but do we really have to? Like, I know we need to legitimize and have authority and all of these things. And I'm like, but we really don't. Like, just take really good care of people. Like, the business success is always a
Always,
byproduct of
always.
just like leading from these other places. And so, so yeah, I appreciate that we're not kicking off this call with like my production or how long I've been doing it or any of those things. Cause like I can give you all those like sexy accolades and like throw them out there, but I don't think
I
they're
know
even
somebody needs
necessary
them.
at
They
this
can
point.
look you up. You're pretty badass, and as is your team. You've been doing it for a long time and at a very, very, very high level. And so I let's just glaze over that because
Yeah, cool.
you're awesome, and I know that, and so that's why you're here. But I'm actually more curious of, I guess, when you kind of this whole coaching side started to percolate to the surface, and in your
Yeah.
process of moving in that direction.
Yeah. So I, it's like kind of two-sided answer, really. So when I started my team, which was 5 years into my business, so when I started Home Collective, and at this point it was 2014, I didn't want a team. Like I didn't really want to be a manager of people, but I had had a mentor and a coach early on in my career, and I saw how instrumental that was in expediting my success. And when I got to the point of needing help and support, I was like, look, the only way I'm going to do this is if it's through this sort of like mentorship coaching dynamic. And I really realized that the way that I was growing my business was actually quite unique compared to the rest of the industry. And I really wanted to help another woman, learn that and see that and live that in her business. And so when I even started my team, it was really from this like coaching mentorship angle. And that agent is the one I actually just mentioned a little while ago, Emily. She's been on my team for 11 years. She's still with me to this day. And the team grew really organically, over the years, but it's always been through that lens of coaching and
Yeah.
mentorship. And then in, I took a sabbatical in 2020, and I was incredibly burned out. And it was on the tail end of that sabbatical because there's a lot of soul searching at that time. Like, how did I get here? Because I used to love this industry. It was so alive for me. I was so fulfilled by it. And and then somewhere along the way I got off course. And it led me to extreme burnout.
Mm.
And it was when I kind of realized there was about 8 years where my business was super aligned, 4 years where it was very misaligned. And I identified like that piece of it and how that led to my burnout. And it was literally in that moment, this is gonna sound so weird to people, but maybe they'll get it. I was in the shower, and I don't know if anybody has like these like light bulb moments when you're in the shower, but I literally was in the shower in out of town on our way back to Chicago, and it dawned on me. I was like, wait a second, I was aligned before, and I became very misaligned, and then this very clear message came through of like, and this is what you're now supposed to go coach other women in the industry to really understand that there's a uniquely aligned way for each of us to be successful, to exist in this space, to build the businesses that we dream of and to live the lives that we desire to live. And then there's misaligned ways. And my work when I came back from my sabbatical was to really spread this message and this coaching and this mentorship outside of my team.
Hmm.
That I mean, I loved my team dearly, but again, I never had this desire to be a mega team. And I also wanted this to be accessible beyond just the traditional team structures. And so I really started formally coaching outside of my team in 2021, like the tail end of 2021.
Oh, interesting.
And and at the time that was really unusual because you either got one of the biggest things that was a pain point for me with our industry, and this has really changed since then, is that so much information was really siloed. Like you either learn from your brokerage or from your team lead, and that was it.
Right.
And I wanted to be a resource to people where it's like, you don't have to be on my team and you don't even have to be on my brokerage, but I know how to help you with where you're at, how to grow, or how to do anything that you're looking to do. And so that was really the birth of it, was realizing my own journey in that story, my own journey of that experience, and then that real calling that it needed to be outside of my team at that point. So
Have you been completely neglecting your newsletter, social media, or any of your outbound marketing? If so, I have a solution for you. With little to no commitment, a virtual assistant can jump in and help you in those areas you just don't have the time for. For more information about hiring a virtual assistant, go ahead and follow the link in the description below. In I guess in terms of like scale and scope, how much time are you currently working in the coaching side versus the real estate side?
yeah, so at first it was still mostly real estate and like a side piece of coaching.
Yeah.
And then and I did that for from 20 like 2 to 23. And then in 2024 I was like, okay, this is really legitimate and I've got a lot of like repeat clients, people were referring other agents to me to coach. And that's when I decided to really prioritize it over my real estate business. And so now 75% of my real estate business my team is handling. I get to be a part of the deals that really light me up and really excite me, and the long, like I've had some clients for 15 years that I still will, be a part of their deals. And the rest of my time is spent coaching. And so
Amazing.
that's been, yeah, a big shift. So I like formally announced, I sort of like branded last year and launched it more publicly. I was very underground. I was very underground in my coaching in 2022 and 2023. And then last year I launched Aligned Ambition is the name of my coaching business, and gave it a more formal space on the internet.
That is super cool. And I personally didn't realize how much of your time is now dedicated to the coaching component. I'm super curious to talk about your coaching approach and style. I've had a few
Yeah.
coaches on here, and what I love about it is everybody approaches it so different, and
Yeah.
I appreciate the way you think of things, and you view other people and the way that you approach it. And I'm curious of how you show up to do your coaching. How do you
Yeah.
like what is it?
Yeah. So we we have enough, I think, tactic and accountability coaches in real estate. My approach, I have all of that. I have a 16-year career. I have a treasure chest. I will open it for you, have fun. I'll teach you everything I know that worked, and all of my everything. But that's a small fraction of what the real work is. And so my coaching is really focused on the whole human first. What are the beliefs that you hold? What are the stories you're telling yourself? What are the things that are actually getting in the way of you having the business and the life that you want? Because one, they're not separate. We
Mhm.
all got into this industry to see success in this business because it was a bridge for other things that we wanted in our life.
So true. Yeah.
And and so I'm like, well, we can't leave them out. Like they're very like, this is all very holistic coaching.
Yeah.
And so I have what I call my aligned success methodology. We start with awareness and then we move into intention before we even take an action, before I even tell you a tactic. And we all know this is true because we've all been in coaching where we are told what to do and nobody did it.
It's also true. I mean,
And
and
it's
not for
like,
nothing, we all already know what to do. We just
yeah,
don't even do that. Like without
yeah,
coaching, it's the same formula. Like meet new
yeah.
people, follow up with them.
Exactly. It's like there's the book, right? Steve Schultz's book. It's not rocket science. Real estate is not rocket science. It's really not. But why aren't you doing it?
Yeah.
And
What
I'm
a
not
better question.
and I'm not an accountability coach. I'm not here to be like, did you do your task list this week? No. I want to have the heart to heart conversation. and point out to you in the things, because one of my gifts is I can see things very clearly.
Mm.
And so when you come into my space, I can tell you immediately the things that are holding you back and that are roadblocks in your way to getting to where you want to go.
Yeah.
And so a lot of this is all, it's still work. It requires work. But I think the thing we don't understand about this business journey sometimes is it's not the work that we think it is. It's not the work about calling the leads and drumming up the contacts. It's, what do I believe to be possible for myself? What do I believe to be like even possible in this industry? And what are the stories and beliefs that I'm holding that are keeping me from actually experiencing that?
Hey, real estate pros, be honest. You know you should be using video, but maybe you feel awkward, don't have the time, or just aren't seeing the results. This is where Kim Rittberg's Video Bootcamp comes in. This live coaching program helps agents create high quality videos quickly and confidently, resulting in leads and clients. Her students have seen results. One landed 3 new clients directly from social media, and others brought in millions of dollars in closed sales. Spots are limited, and to apply now, follow the link in the description below. Which is, that's your entire life in a nutshell. It's
Yeah,
whatever you believe to be true is, look around.
it's true.
That is your life. That is such an interesting way to approach it.
But so often we don't see the things that we believe to be true, and they come out, with enough conversation and enough sort of like digging and really like open and honest dialogue, we can find it pretty quickly, but we often can't see it in ourselves. So a lot of times what I feel like my coaching is I'm holding up a mirror for you to see these things that are getting in the way, and then also to give you permission to do it in the ways that feel right and true for you. Because we've overly bought into this belief that there's only certain ways to be successful, or certain ways to show up in this industry, or that I've got to dress a certain way or post a certain way on social media or show these types of things for me to be taken seriously or for me to be successful. One of the things, like, I can use the easiest example is like, if you're not creating content and posting content, then you're just not going to get business. And that's just fundamentally not true. Like, all of us are not meant to show up in the same way. We're all meant to actually build our businesses quite differently. And when you understand what that is for you, it creates a lot of permission, and then it unlocks quite a lot of success in the business. And so that's really what I hope people do before we even get into the tactics.
It's so funny. It's funny that you bring that up, because of this podcast and the vehicle that it's created. It's behind it is a whole content creation machine. And so I'm asked to be a guest speaker about content creation. And I was sitting down to work on that whole component, and I realized that I want to actually start my talk with, not everybody's supposed to be doing this.
Yeah.
Like,
Please start it with that.
Not everybody in this room should be here. Like, let's
Right.
just start there. It's like, you can build an amazingly incredible business and have zero posts on the interwebs. But I think and we talked about this before, there's so much pressure from all these other angles coming in all the time that we, like, every day we have to be growing, and if you're not growing, your business is dying. And then I think we also, which it sounds like you addressed, but the collective definition of success is not the individual definition of success.
Oh, man.
And that kills people. It just cripples them until it's like, when you realize that, some people's definition of success is working 80 hours a week and doing, 4,000 closings and doing all this. And somebody else is, hey, my definition of success is picking up my kids from school every day, religiously, not missing a day ever. That's successful to me. And I want to make enough so they live an amazing life. That's it.
Yeah. You know what I think the definition of success, well, it is for me now, and what I hope it is for everybody, is just the freedom to lean into the season of life you're in a sense of like, maybe this is a season where you do want to work really hard, right? Maybe it's a season where you want to be available to pick up your kids. Maybe it's a season for women. Like, I know a lot of women, we don't take maternity leave because it's not normalized in our industry. And I'm like hell bent to change that. But it's like, this success is just the freedom to do what is right for you in that moment and in that time.
Yeah.
And and yeah, I think the definition, and that's one of the places we really often start in my work, is getting clear on what is your specific definition of success, because so often people are taking actions because they have adopted somebody else's definition of success, the industry's definition of success, and then they're trying to realize that, not realizing there's no alignment between that, because it's not actually their definition. It's
Mm,
just something they subscribed to. And
yeah.
so a lot of this work starts with getting wildly and radically clear about what is your definition of success, and then operating like in an aligned place, taking aligned actions that are a match for that. Because if not, we're just building the wrong thing out the gate.
It's that's an interesting way to look at it, that it's seasonal, because you're right. Like, I'm reflecting on my own life, and being almost 50, I have very different definitions than I did when I was younger. And
For sure.
so many of those things that I envisioned when I was younger, I've reached and achieved, but I'm not done. So then, like, I had to your point, it's like the season changed. So then I
Yeah.
had to evolve. But you're right, you get heavily influenced by the industrial complex of it all. And oh, I have to make this list, or I have to do this thing, and I have to be in the top 1%, and blah, 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 blah. And you're like,
Yeah.
and then I think for me, and it sounds like for you, before your sabbaticals, you wake up and you're like, hold on, do I want to do all of that stuff? Or
Right.
is that me? That's not me. I actually want this.
Right.
Like, I want to go over here and do this thing and have fun. Uh,
Mm-hmm. And
yeah,
it's the yeah, it's the permission to up, or I didn't the permission. It's the reminder. Like, we should just be updating this probably every year, every season, because we're evolving as human beings at every turn. And if we don't let that definition evolve with us, then
yeah,
we build these really cool cages around ourselves. And we're like, well, the only definition of success that I valued was being a top producer and all of that. Even though, like, yeah, there's a lot to say about that, but it's like that was the only definition that I valued, and now I have all these other things in my life that I want to pursue, and then there's great conflict. Great conflict.
I heard this great quote the other day, and I don't know why it made me think of it, but the jailer lives in the same prison as the prisoner. And it's,
Mm,
we get trapped in this prison of this definition that's not even ours. And then we
yeah,
get discouraged that we're not achieving this thing that's not even, it's not the thing that we actually wanted.
right, right. When what we all really want is fulfillment. That's what we want.
Yeah.
That's what we all set out for. We hoped that this would be the industry that allowed for that, but no one actually gave us the roadmap. This industry is like really good. I say I love real estate. I love the industry. I'm not giving it a hard time, but I kind of am, because I think we need to talk about these things, else everyone's just going to stay sucked in. But the industry is very, very good at selling a dream
Yeah.
and then plugging you into a system that doesn't actualize that doesn't actually support it. Right? We sell freedom and flexibility and massive amounts of income and creative expression and all of these things.
Yeah.
And then you step foot in it and you're like, oh, it's not actually what this is.
Yeah.
Now I'm working a million hours and never feel like I can take any mental or physical time off because of what's the narrative is.
I'm laughing because I always, when people would ask me, "Oh, why'd you get into real estate?" and I would always say, "Because I got to choose which days or I'm screwing it up. I get to choose which 80 hours a week I work." And it's, yeah, you get sucked into this thing. But yeah, I mean, I'm not throwing shade on it either. It's afforded me a very amazing lifestyle. I think the me within it had realizations. And to your point, it's seasonal, and I've had my own evolutions and my own epiphanies, and I too have had those shower aha moments of like, hey, wait a second here. I actually want to be doing this thing, and because that affords me that little bit, that piece of joy that I need back in my life,
Yeah,
in this experience. How do
yeah.
you, when you sit with a client, I'm so curious about the way you think of this is just so unique, and so I'm trying to figure out how to ask, and I don't know how to
Yeah.
unpack it. But how do you evaluate? Where do you start with these people?
Yeah. Well, most people find me because they get to experience me or witness me or something, right? Or it's referral.
Yeah.
So, for example, maybe we use like the retreat as an example. I spoke on something tactical, right? I spoke about how to articulate your value and how to earn more commission.
Mm.
And and after that, many people approached me and said, "Hey, I'd like to know more about your coaching." And most people, because we are trained as realtors to look for the solution to our problem, right? Like, what is the thing that's going to help me get to the next level? And often trained that it is tactical. It is, buying leads, calling things, like building our CRM, having great processes, like all these tactical things. And so I have all of that, right? Which people can see with my experience and my background and what I've created and what I've built. But where I start is I want to learn about them. I want to hear about them because when when that happens, I can see if when I'm even going to be a good fit for you with where you're at and what you have going on. But it allows me, it just helps me to get a good picture on what it is that they're really looking for, right? Like we think we know what we need, we think we know what we want, right? But we often misidentify what we actually need. And so in those conversations, I can see pretty quickly on like, this is like what you need and where you're at. But one of the things that I use in my coaching out the gate is what's called human design.
Mm.
And it's truly a tactical tool. It's similar to like a disc test or, the different sort of profiling things out there, strengths of all kinds, where human design is truly just an awareness tool. It's the science of differentiation.
Hmm.
And so where I start with everybody once we decide we're a good fit is to look at their human design and to look at the way, because we are all uniquely designed across the board. Not one person is the same. And I think what gets a little bit hard in this industry is we think that there's certain ways that we've seen modeled for us, and that's the way that we should build our business, or that's how we're going to be successful. And we really cut ourselves off from our unique ways, our authentic ways, our inner wisdom, which is really what was guiding the first 8 years of my business, and where I realized I got off course. And so I look at the client's human design, and from there it gives us the actual blueprint for how they are uniquely designed to create success in their business. And then from there, that drives the whole strategy and all of the coaching and everything then to come. Because again, I just think there's a level of awareness around, oh, I don't have to do it the same way Shawn does it. Even though I respect Shawn and I admire Shawn, and I'm going to emulate what Shawn's doing because it seems to be working for him. And when we realize actually this is our unique design and here's how it will get to work for you, it is a massive unlock to the success and the ease and the flow. And so that's where I start. I start by looking at everybody's unique design because it tells its own story. And then from there, we get to implement, all the things. But again, it's like, it's understanding the way that you're designed, and then yes, there's going to be actions and tactics and things that I'm going to tell you, and then we're going to hybrid it with these beliefs and these stories and the different parts that are also getting in the way. So again, it's like this holistic approach. I feel like I just took us on a journey, and that was a very long-winded response,
No, I think that was
but
a great. It, it's yeah, that was incredible, and I'm trying to like make sense of it, and it does. Like I have two sons, and they're so different. And I'm as you're sharing that, I'm relating like, oh, how does that apply to me in my life? Does that make sense? And it's interesting when I'm helping them get through a situation or a problem, I approach them totally different because they're
right.
completely different people. And reflecting that and relating it to this business, there's 2.5 million agents. Totally makes sense. Like it needs to be a very hyper personalized experience because two people who are producing the same have very different beliefs and systems and processes, and the systems and process is when they go through the whole thought model, and so
Yeah.
it's fascinating to take it on more of a psychological approach rather than just the traditional tactile approach
Yeah.
of do this like this chain of events, and then you'll get this new carrot over here.
Right. Exactly. Because the success, I mean, Honestly, our success, I believe, is 20% of the actual tactics, 80%. And I think this 80% gets lumped into mindset, but it's really not even just mindset. There's so many other things, like how we're supposed to be using our energy, how we're supposed to know what decisions are right for us, what our strategy is supposed to be. There's actually a thing in human design, it talks about your strategy. My strategy is I will actualize the things in my life and business by responding to inspiration or like any sort. So like being asked, hey, Kelly, do you want to come speak at the retreat? Absolutely. Yes, I would love to do that. I didn't go to them and say, hey, can I speak at the retreat? Right. But for another design type, that might be how they actualize things. They might be someone who needs to inform. They might be someone. And when we understand these mechanisms within us, it's this like huge unlock for like, okay, here's how I'm supposed to do it. So like, we use social media, for example, onto like what you're saying. There are certain people that will draw totally, strangers off the internet into their Instagram account and nurture that and turn them into a client. That's not it for me. I'm more a community, like all of my business kind of comes from my first like couple of rings of my community around me. But I use Instagram to share from my heart, to share my perspective, to talk about these beautiful connections I've made. I love supporting other businesses. I love like these things that really light me up. And when people experience that and they feel that, then they may be inclined to reach out and learn more or to work with me or to refer me to someone. So we can use the same vehicle, but we just use them very differently. And I think that's the understanding that's really lacking in the industry.
Yeah.
Is that this just is going to look different. And once we understand what it is for us, things become exponentially easier. This should not feel like you are pushing a boulder up the hill. It should feel that you're riding a skateboard down the street. And you're like, I got this. Like, this is like flowing to me. And I had that, great connection and that turned into business and all of these things that we know when we're in that state and we know when we're not.
It's so funny. I mean, talking to you, I always really value your opinion and the way you view things, but I feel like when you break something down like that, I'm like, wow, I am totally the opposite. But we're so aligned in so many like points
Yeah.
on the conversation, whereas like I default to like very tactical of like, well, how do I approach this? Like, how do I break this down? Simplest form, how do we execute? Blah blah blah. And like that's immediately where I go. Or you were like, oh, I was approached to have this speaking event, and I'm like, man, I'm the chaser. I'm like, I want that event. How do I get there? Who do I need to like? And then I'll build the whole. I need to connect with this person and blah blah, blah and like, and then
Oh, interesting.
get
Yeah.
to that thing. Um,
Does
yeah,
it work for you? Like it, and
yeah, it's a struggle, but it works. Um,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'm always the other default setting I have is I'm extremely impatient, and so I ultimately will get to the thing I want. It just never happens at the speed of my expectation, and so
That
my
you want.
frustration always comes from the, regardless of how fast it is, it wasn't fast enough, and so that's always where my stress sits.
Yeah. Which is, I think, of the case for a lot of people, right? Like we want to know the linear steps to get the result and to do it in record time. And
Well
yeah,
said.
yeah. And a big part of this is deep self-trust that it's going to look different for everybody. And something that I say a lot is actually the how is not up to you. The how, so like if I think about, I'm like take you guys on a journey. When I think about my real estate business, right? Like I wasn't really focused, and this is what I meant. Like it really was working for me for the first 8 years. I didn't understand what human design was at the time, but I was living very much in alignment with my design.
Hmm.
And I realized I was never out looking for clients. I was just doing the things that lit me up and really brought me joy. And then I was understood that relationships were this key component. And then I had a deep connection to my gut response, my gut knowing, and I would just follow it. Like, this is sound ridiculous, but even the simplest things, like, hey, who wants to sit this open house? And I'd be like, oh yeah, that feels great. Let's do that. I'd sit the open house. literally $1 million cash buyer walks in and she's like, I'd like to buy this house. And I was like, well, I'm not the listing agent. I can represent you. And she's like, okay, great. And I'm giving like a really simple reduced down version. But had I calculated how am I going to get $1 million buyer, I'm pretty sure that wasn't the strategy actually. For
Hmm.
me, I would have complicated it. I would have figured out an 18-step plan to get from here to where I think that I need to go. And again, I don't want to diminish like how real this work is because I feel like sometimes that example feels like woo and like lucky, but it's not luck. Like we all have a strategy inside of us, and when we understand what that strategy is,
Yeah.
mine is to live in response to my environment, respond when I see the right thing, speak from a place of being only on the things that light me up, only on the things that feel like alive for me.
Yeah.
And so it was actually me speaking about something about commission in the office one day, and someone heard me and they were like, Kelly, would you like to come speak at the retreat? And so it was just me living in alignment all of the time. And then I get to trust it. I trust that this is how this works for me because I deeply understand it now. And I know where to focus my efforts and my attention and where not to.
Hmm. That's so interesting. Yeah. I mean, I feel that. And I don't think it's woo because like I've been in that same, to go back to the open house, is at one point I was super passionate about and excited about being at all these open houses and showing up like that all the time.
Yeah.
I My first transaction in San Francisco, I met a cash buyer with a we closed a $2.675 million property, and it was
Amazing.
brand new. And I mean, and he closed in, I think it was 5 days, if I remember correctly. And this
Yeah.
was after me working with him for a week. And
Amazing.
but to your point, like if I sat out to be like, oh, I need to meet a $2.5 million buyer, I would have mucked it up by adding too many steps to this. But instead of
Mm-hmm.
showing up passionately, and then yeah, and it's somewhere you get all these distractions and you lose that thing along the way.
And this is like even using open houses as an example. Some of us are designed to do open houses and some of us are not. And so like I can look at the different women on my team and based on the way that they're designed, like they will not get business from open houses.
Yeah.
That's not their most magnetic place. And I just think this is part of that permission. Like when you really understand, because I can see it and then I can teach it and explain it. When you understand it, it gives you so much permission. Because I'll hear people all the time be like, "Oh, I have to do open houses, and I know that's how I have to get the business, and I hate it, and I don't want to do it." Or they're just like, "I
All that
guess I'll do it."
vocabulary, all that
Yeah,
vocabulary. Oh, I have to. Even that. Oh, like you're not going to do it, nor are you going to enjoy it.
right. And that's what people feel. So many of our clients too just pick us based on how we make them feel.
100%.
And and so if you're not in alignment, you're not magnetic, they can't feel you. This is kind of how I explain it. They can't feel you. They're not going to choose you.
Yeah.
So what do we need to do within your day-to-day, within your business so that you're showing up in the right ways to actualize the business?
Huh. I like what did you say? It was the magnetic. How did you say?
Magnetize, yeah. So
Like,
like yeah, it magnetizes people to me. So like for me, I just speak to my design. I think this is part of your design too, to be honest, John, because I looked you up. So you're also a generator. But when we are doing the things that we absolutely love,
mhm.
people feel us. Like it's magnetic to other people. And
Really?
then they are drawn in to being a part of this. So like you love this podcast,
Yeah.
right? You have, because you love it, you have the energy to do it.
Yes. 100%.
Okay. There's probably tasks you don't like about it. Like,
So many tasks I hate about
yeah. And
it.
all of those should be said to somebody else. And you
Yeah.
should only be doing the stuff that actually lights you up. But I think this is why this has had such great success and why you have the community around you now that you do and why you have the club and these different things is because you're showing up in such a lit up magnetic place. And I feel that in conversation with you.
Hmm.
And then I want to support you and be a part of what you're doing because I feel it. So we don't have, as often as generators, we're not meant to be like out informing people, this is what I'm doing and this is how I'm going to do it. And can you have me as a guest? It would have been really out of alignment for me to ask to be a guest on your show. What was in alignment was exactly what happened, which is I worked with Susie. Susie experienced me and then referred me to you. And all of that is in my design. And because I know that that's how things work for me, that's how I model my business and how I operate.
It's interesting that you say that because all of that, because you're right. The highlight of my week are these recordings because I feel like I get to actually have a conversation where we just strip away the bullshit and we kind of get to something real. And I genuinely, like in the morning as I'm getting ready for these, I'm like, oh, I'm always like I really genuinely look forward to it. And there's so many other aspects of my business that I don't. But then the cool thing, and you kind of brought it up, is it transformed itself over time into this whole mastermind group that was a zero plan. Like I did not set out to create a mastermind group that was basically filled by the podcast guests. Like that wasn't,
Yeah.
It organically created from its own momentum, which I didn't know where that was going to come from. And so yeah, I mean, it's interesting as I'm relating it to what you're sharing, because again, like I didn't set out to do that thing. It just happened
Yeah.
to show up from the result of me, to your point, showing up with this level of like interest and curiosity with such amazing people.
Yeah. With true authenticity. Like that's the ultimate definition. And I know authenticity gets thrown around so much,
It's
but
one of my least favorite, like,
I know, and I'm like, I don't like to use the word.
find a new word. What is the new
We
one?
need to find a new word, but that's why I use alignment a lot, because it's like if when you're living really true to who you are,
Yeah.
it you're literally aligned to all of the other things that you want. But like when you're just really authentically who doing it, showing up and to the things that light you up, to the things that excite you, look at what that resulted in. But
Mm.
had you been like, how do I bring a group of referral partners together and have it be this and have it wouldn't be what it is, because it would have been manufactured instead of aligned. And so we don't have to figure out how we are going to make things happen. And I know this is very hard for our beautiful, brilliant human brains to like accept. It is not us. The how and the when is not up to us. It's just
Mm.
not. The what and the why. Why am I doing this? Why am I here? Why am I in this industry? And what do I deeply want? And and how do I show up every day to take an aligned action that is a match for that? And then it just comes together.
Hmm. It's so fascinating.
I know. I'm sorry.
No, it's so good. I mean, I'm reflecting on my own personal life of what you're sharing, and there's so many times that I know when I'm in alignment because all these just it's weird. It's just I'll like think of something and a week later it'll come to fruition without me weird, like really weird stuff or I'll just have crazy ridiculous like goals mapped out
Yeah.
like years prior, and then they'll in like rapid succinction they'll all just like boop, 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 start happening and you're like holy shit. um you're right, and that's always in those moments when I'm in that flow of doing, like I'm living in that space of just like it's like perfection in a weird way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's flow state.
It is.
It's aligned state. That's what it is. Like that's what I meant. This is not supposed to feel like pushing a boulder up a hill. It's not. There's supposed to be ease and there's supposed to be flow.
Yeah.
And the work, and that's what I meant. Like this takes work, but it's not the work that you think it is. It's not cold calling and doing all that stuff. Like, yeah, that's work. The work is the deep connection to yourself and what are the ways that I am meant to live and exist and to actualize.
Yeah.
And what work do I need to do on myself to trust myself, to believe that the things that I want are available to me, to see the ways that I'm sabotaging myself because I've bought into like this is a condition and this we've been so deeply conditioned to operate and to show up in certain ways because that's where we've figured out that's what makes me worthy, that's what makes me valuable. That legitimizes like all of this hard work legitimizes, this outcome. And the work is to really decondition from a lot of those things so
Yeah.
that when we do that, it really sets us free to be our most magnetic selves, to operate in the ways that are in true alignment for who we are.
Yeah, it's funny. It makes me think of very much of the hustle culture and the pain and the grind, and it's like if you do those things, then you get rewarded for it, and then
Yeah,
unfortunately, sometimes you actually do. So then you default to thinking you always have to grind, whereas that's the opposite of that's a conditioning. Like that's not necessarily true.
yeah.
Like
It should it the things that feel good to us are literally the breadcrumbs to making things happen.
yes,
In my perspective, the universe gifted us with those things and it feels good so that we keep doing it.
yeah,
But we've been told it doesn't work like that. We've been told you put your head down, you follow these linear steps, and when you get to this point, then there's an authority who's going to tell you that now you're qualified to go out and do XYZ, or now you're worthy of receiving that paycheck or that job title or that whatever. And and all of that came with an immense amount of like hustle and self-sacrifice and all of these things that we've just been conditioned to believe are the requirement
mm,
when it's actually not at all true. And here's the thing, I'm not saying don't work hard. I work hard. I love working hard, but it's not hard work. And there's a massive difference between working hard and hard work. And if it feels like hard work, you are out of alignment with the way that you're supposed to be doing it.
yeah. Yeah, it's so. I mean, it's so incredibly true. I was married earlier, previously, and divorced, and that was hard work. Like it was always a battle. It was always an uphill battle. That's why it didn't work. And now with
Yeah.
Yellow, there's a level of like ease because it's work, but we're both working together, and so it's like work that you want to do. You show up because you're achieving these things together, and it's such
Yeah.
a different paradigm shift even within the business. It's like it's not all supposed to be hard. It's like the podcast, like
Right.
no, you actually wake up and it's work, but it's enjoy. It's there's a like a deep level of joy by showing up and doing this thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And so much of my coaching is getting people back to the joy, getting people back. And we do that through you understanding the way that because here's what happens. I read someone's human design and they're like, oh my God, that is exactly how I've always wanted to do it. That feels like it's like I'm kind of reading your soul basically. And they're like, yeah, like that is me. And that is how I want to do it. And I was like, yeah, how you're supposed to do it. Like go back to doing that. And when we can find the joy again, it again, that's the magnetism. That's what sparks all these other beautiful things that start to happen. And so that's a big part of this work is getting back to that point because we get really beat down in the industry through the market conditions, through comparison, through our own self-doubt, our own horrendous self-talk, all of the things, and all we're doing is spiraling down. And the really abundant, successful business you want is not on that frequency, I can tell you. It's not on that low vibration. It's on the one that comes with joy and fun and fulfillment and like you're living as a full expression of yourself. That vibrationally is a match for abundance and clients and all of the beautiful things.
I feel like our businesses are inspection reports. Like, have you ever read an inspection report and they're like, hey, this part of the house is really amazing and well built and super well taken care of. All inspection reports are the opposite. They're always like, this is crap, this is rotten, this is falling down, this needs
Yeah.
to be worked. And I feel like that's what we do to our business in our lives. We're just constantly like, that's not good enough. You need more of that. Close more deals, put more posts up, do this. But like, we never step back and like, actually, hey, good
Yeah.
job on that.
Yeah.
That was amazing. That was an incredibly hellish transaction. You successfully got your client through. Good job.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such a great example. That's a great example. I had a coaching client the other day and we was talking to her and she was telling me this story and she's like, it felt so easy. And she just sort of brushed it off, like just totally brushed it off as if it wasn't valuable or that it almost didn't happen because there was ease to it and it kind of just landed in her lap. I got lucky. Like you hear a lot of these things.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, wait. Can we like rewind the tape about how it felt that way because you were doing it in the way that was meant for you and it happened like that and the material is like that because of it. But we are so quick, the things that are easy, the things that are working, the things that feel, this is what I see the most, and particularly in women, we think we just get lucky apparently all the time because it's the most frequent thing I hear from especially women. They're like, I just got lucky. That just and I go, no, it it there was other stuff there, but you couldn't see it because it didn't because we are so trained and so conditioned to look at the things that aren't working and the things that we need to fix and change about ourselves instead of doubling down on who we are and again what's authentic to us and what's aligned for us. So I love it because it is like if you're looking at your whole business like an inspection report, you're not I can tell you right now you're just not a vibrational match for what it is that you actually desire. And then that's what creates so much friction in our day to day because we're not the desire and the thoughts are not congruent. It's
Huh.
like we want this beautiful thing, we want business to feel this way, we want to show up this way, but all we're doing is looking at all of the problems and all of our shortcomings, and then we wonder why we're miserable. These things aren't congruent; they're not a match
Yeah.
together.
It's funny now that I'm like unpacking that in my head is the precursor to success is grind, hard, difficult, challenging, a battle. And if you have that, then on the other side of it is success. And if you don't have that, oh, that was luck.
Yeah,
Like, no, that's bullshit. That was all the previous grinding showed up somewhere else, and then this opportunity appeared. Like that wasn't
yeah,
luck. That was who was it? There was a famous baseball player who said, "The harder I work, the luckier I get."
yeah, yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I mean, I think that's such an interesting bullshit story of like, oh,
But these are the things, like these are the stories and these are the beliefs. Like the one that I also hear a lot is like, oh well, if I ever talk to someone like, how much business have you done or what's your production? There's always this really funny qualifier. It's like, well, I self-sourced $10 million, but then my team lead or my I got referrals for about $5 million. And it's almost like the referrals or the things that were came from like a team lead or something are not as valuable as the self-sourcing. And I was like, wait, so you mean that you're such a great agent that another agent trusted you with their client? That to me is like the ultimate compliment of being a fabulous agent. But it's so funny to me how quickly people will diminish that because self-sourcing for some reason is more valuable or more worthy than
you
than
know,
the lead or the referral or the whatever.
yeah. And on the flip side, being a team lead of no, that's actually the most valuable of the lot because if I have a client moving to Chicago and I don't like or trust you and think you're going to do an amazing job, Kelly, you're not getting that lead. So
Right.
in the inverse, if I'm calling you with a lead opportunity, it's because I deeply trust that my client is going to be absolutely best served by working with you. And so on the flip
Yeah.
side, that is the highest level of compliment in the most respect. Not only that, it's like a surgeon is not going to recommend their family member to another surgeon who's not the best of the best.
Right.
Period.
Any other industry that would be highly valuable, but for some reason in real estate, it's like the
Exactly.
most common thing I hear is like, well, it wasn't self-sourced. And I was like, well, why is that a belief that's here that that's any less valuable or any less worthy of like, of, of, you know, you seeing that? And we just are so quick to, to be really hard on ourselves. Like that kind of goes back like full circle to what we were saying at the beginning of we're so hard on ourselves and we pick things apart and we only focus on our shortcomings and what's not working. And we are missing 75% of all of our capabilities and all of our beautiful results and all of these things. And as long as that's the case, we'll keep being stuck in this hamster wheel.
Yeah. It's it's genuinely those stories, what we're thinking, what we're ultimately perceiving is at the end of the day is the world we've created for ourselves. And
Yeah.
that's a hard acknowledgement of, oh, I'm responsible for all of this. This is mine.
Yeah. But
That's
that's where things really change.
yeah.
When we really can see that we are creating our reality, and I know that not everybody subscribes to that, but I do. And I really understand that I'm creating my reality every day through my beliefs, which are just a thought you keep thinking over and over again. That's the only definition of a belief.
Yeah.
Through my thoughts, which dictate my feelings, which drive my actions, which create my results. And when you become really accountable for your thoughts and your beliefs, you start to change your feelings and your frequency, and that's what changes your results. And that's really the work that I'm doing in my coaching.
That's so fascinating. And I love that you're just doing it on such a deep, deep level. Again, rather than the, hey, have you made more calls? Why aren't you making more calls? I feel like the level of work that you're doing is so much needed. And I feel like the industry has so much pressure on it, more so now than it ever has, that
Yeah.
the need for someone like you is that much more genuinely.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. I mean, it's an honor to do this work. Like I don't take the relationships I have with my coaching clients lightly. Like it is truly, this is my, like, this is just being of service. This is like truly heart led. And to
Mm.
have to be able to walk along this journey with other people is like of such great honor. And to see the results that it creates. Like I know we talked like very loose in some regards, like all over the place and high level, but like this is transformational work.
Mm.
And to be able to see those results is the most fulfilling thing that I could be a part of. So I'm I'm here for it. I'm here for us to really redefine this industry too by bringing more of this to it.
Same. I mean, I feel similar. Like that's the whole spirit of this podcast is I just, if one person, that's it, just one person out there listens to this and they find that glint of hope or that one area where they can just kind of shift their perspective and change the way they're perceiving it or working on it, then I think it's a job well done.
Yeah. Yeah. So thanks for doing this podcast because it gives, all these different perspectives. And I think you give people a lot of permission because when they hear what everybody else is up to, and this is like maybe my like piece of advice, not that you asked for it, but as you listen to these podcasts and you hear what somebody says, if you feel it like light a spark in you, if you're like, oh yeah, that's a great idea, or that energizes me, like go do that thing.
Yeah.
That's what you're supposed to do. And if you hear someone say something and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I have to do that. And I'm going to make myself do it because that's what I have to do. No, like that's not it. You get like 85% you don't have to do. And I know this is like very controversial and some people would slap my wrist, but like, I'm not kidding. 85% of what you think you have to do, you don't actually have to do. And you can let it go and you can focus on the stuff that actually lights you up and brings you joy, and really understanding what that looks like for you is key.
Yeah, and it's funny from doing these podcasts, and I firmly believe this is one is there's no right way to the top of the mountain. You can, and I've said this a bunch of times on the podcast, you can hike it, you can drive it, you can run it, you can take a helicopter to the top. There's no right or wrong answer. And not for nothing, you don't have to go to the top. You can hang out halfway.
Totally.
Like that's okay
Yeah.
too. And that's amazing. There's no right way, there's no wrong way. Have fun at it. And that's And if you do connect with somebody on a podcast and you're like, wow, they took a helicopter, that sounds amazing. That's exciting. That's cool. Let me learn about that.
Yeah,
Do
do
that.
that.
And
Yeah,
I think the other part that I've learned from this is, and it sounds like you kind of do this with your work, is if people find that thing they're super passionate about and they figure out where that intersection is to productivity and they just hang out there,
yeah,
their business just, that's where it all just flourishes from. It's just
yeah,
hanging in that space.
yeah, absolutely. And the more you can keep yourself in that space, the better it'll be. And also, the thing I really want us to do is question the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
Who says that's the top? Like
Sure. Who
who
says it's
claim
the right
who
mountain?
it's the what? Say it again.
Who says it's even the right mountain?
That's exactly.
Go
Oh,
somewhere.
dude, that's like a whole other. I have like been on that tear for a while lately because of a lot of things. But it is. It's like who says that's it?
There's a lot of mountains out there,
There's a
and not
lot of
for
mountains.
nothing, you don't even have. Not all of them are meant to be climbed. You can go hang out in the valley if you want.
Totally.
That's fine
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. So
You,
question that definition of success and what you're striving for because it really all starts there.
I heard a great quote at the retreat, and it's one that I've been really like. I love quotes for starters, but I always go back to certain ones because they make me think, and I'm like, oh, for some reason they just put me on that meditative path. But I think it was Shirag, and I might be wrong, but the quote is, "The grass is greener where you water it,"
Yeah.
and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that's, and so it doesn't, that hill, the mountain, that doesn't even exist either. Just wherever you are, that should be the best spot.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. And watch how green it gets when you appreciate that that's the best spot. Like that's that whole metaphor. It's like I'm gonna water this because where I am is great and I'm really proud of it.
Yeah,
And then it just like flourishes and blossoms around you. It's
yeah,
the striving that completely strangles us.
yeah.
So
Yeah, so good. Kelly, thank you. This was, I always find it really refreshing, and I feel like every time we have a conversation, it's always therapeutic for me on some level. So I really genuinely appreciate that. If
yeah, thank
somebody
you.
wants to find you and look you up
Yes.
and reach out about coaching, what's the best way for them to do that?
They can come visit me on Instagram, which is Kelly underscore E underscore Parker. Send me a DM. I also have a website. It's thealignedambition.com. You can read about my coaching and see my testimonials. But come say hi. Like I'm a real person. Like if there was something in this and you're like you just it vibed with you, come shoot me a DM. Happy to talk. One of the play that like we said at this, like where I start with everybody is what's called a clarity call. I read your human design. I tell you what I see as your business strategy. That's my sweet spot of helping you apply it to your business. And if you do nothing else, I just highly, highly recommend that because it really changes the game. So it's a
I
great place to
want,
start.
I feel like I need to do that. I
Yeah, I'm going to make you do it now.
so much of what you shared, I'm like, that's me. I should do that, and so I'll accept that challenge.
Okay, great. It's a date. We'll do it. I'm going to read your design and we'll come back and report back.
Sounds like a plan. Thanks, Kelly. I appreciate this.
Thanks, Sean. It's good to be here.